Hello, Tudor. How are you?
Hi, not too bad. Thanks, Pradeep. Yourself?
Very good, man. Thank you. Thank you for joining with me and supporting me collaborating on this passion versus profession interview. Uh, as I've sent an email, I'm Pradeep Maduri. I'm currently doing my higher research degree at University of Technology, Sydney. I'm working on my thesis called Passion versus Profession,
Mhm.
trying to deal with emotional and financial costs of filmmaking, especially by immigrant, first generation migrant filmmakers in Australia. But I also like to take immigrant creative struggle. So this is where we are. Before I move on to, I would like to take a consent from you. Do you consent? Uh, s- Sorry. Yeah, do you consent to having this interview published or submitted to university and later on my YouTube channel on my
Yeah,
social media?
that'll be just fine.
It's fine. Thank you for that. Yeah, please introduce yourself and what's your background, where you from, and yeah.
Sure, wonderful. Well, thanks for that, Pradeep. Very excited to have this interview with you. Well, my name is Tudor, full name Tudorfucatomesca. Originally, by birth, I'm from Romania, but I came to Australia when I was very young. I've been here for quite a while, actually, 10 plus years. I've also lived in other places, like in Madrid in Spain, in London in England as well. Came back about 3, 4 years ago. So I've actually been in Australia for quite a while. As for what my background is in the creative industry, I suppose there's a few creative things I do. A bit more on a personal leisure side, we could say maybe some music, some instrumental things. Otherwise, I am an aspiring model, aspiring male model in fashion, fitness, as well as a few other areas. So I'd say that's probably the most professional, creative direction that I'm taking at the moment.
What is your professional life like? Are you working somewhere, or is this creative passion making you living?
Mhm. Well, the thing about this particular creative passion, the modeling, is it is usually very impromptu, very last minute work sometimes. It's very hard to have stability with it. So even though it may be, let's say, paid well on a per job basis, because it's very unstable, it's not a consistent, form of income.
Mhm.
So right now, I am on a few different platforms that helps to connect creatives in this field, whether they're models, hair makeup artists, casting directors, videographers, companies. There's a few platforms out there in web and app form that I'm on that help me with this. I am also with two agencies at the moment, AEFM International, which is a fitness, health and fitness industry agency, and recently also with E1 Models, which is more on the fashion, editorial, catwalk, magazine, that sort of thing. So I guess what I'm saying is it's definitely a work in progress as a fresh face, and there's a lot of work to be done. It's a lot of self-driven work. It's very enjoyable, but it can be quite stressful at times, especially at the beginning when you're still learning the industry.
Mm. So how you're balancing your mm, creative passion with your struggles, like you're studying right now, I can see. So
Yeah.
how is it going on right now?
Well, look, to be quite honest with you, it's not easy. At times it feels like I have three jobs at the same time. One, which is, to support myself and whatever I need to pay for is just hospitality or retail work, just as most young students or young people do. And then it's this freelance and agency based modeling work. And then it's the university work as well. So it really does feel like it's three jobs at the same time. And, it can be very difficult. There's a lot of days where, or even weeks where I might wake up at 7, 8 a.m. and I'll be back home at 7, 8 p.m., and then have to do the other, house things. So it can take a lot of effort, a lot of the time.
So how did your passion originated? Like when did you decide you want to become a model or TV actor? How this came up in your mind actually?
Well, it's an interesting question. And the answer for that is, funnily enough, when I was overseas, actually, in Madrid and in London, there were a handful of modeling agencies that, for one reason or another, came across my, let's say, digital profile at that time. And they did want to work with me. But funnily enough, at the time, I was actually trying to make a football career work, soccer career work. So I've been playing football at a high level for a very long time now. Not anymore, but when I was younger, I did. So I decided not to pursue that avenue. But recently, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, I just decided, it was sort of spur of the moment, just to apply to a few agencies. And one of them, AEFM International, got back to me. And that's kind of how that whole process, let's say, or journey started. And it's just been
Hmm.
working on it ever since.
So you're studying. What's you're studying right now? Like, is something related to your creative or professional life? Is that
Funnily
related?
enough, yeah, not really. I mean, I'm doing a Bachelor of Science at the moment, majoring
Mm-hmm.
in biochemistry and genetics. So it's very far
Amazing.
removed from
Yeah.
modeling, photography, all that. I've always been a bit of a science learning
Mm-hmm.
person. But I also like to discover a lot of new things. I love to learn new topics and meet a lot of people. That's, extroverted by nature is how I am. So I
Mm.
suppose that's the only way it's related. But no, I would say biochemistry is probably not very related to that. Mhm.
So see, you're doing the biology because my bachelor's also biotechnology. Are you
Okay.
planning to continue your career with that, or you wanted to majorly focus on your modeling and TV or movie acting career?
Well, it's an interesting question, and
Oh.
I suppose that's something that everyone's figuring out. What exactly are they doing? What's the long term plan? What's the big game plan?
Mm. Yeah.
Before I got accepted for representation to that first agency I mentioned previously, the plan was continue with studies, finish the bachelor, do an honors extra research year, and then do a PhD and go into research. That's what I've always wanted to do, science research.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So there's definitely a pathway for that. But then when I got this opportunity, I started thinking, well, everything sort of turned upside down, overnight. It's interesting. It's an opportunity, and it's an opportunity that I don't want to let go, and that I'm finding very hard to make it work. If it works, if it doesn't, only time will tell. But at least I know that I will have done everything possible to try and make it work. So it's a bit hard for me to say, is science going to be my future career? Is modeling going to be my career? It's very hard to say. It really depends on how this all plays out over the next 6 months, year, few years. At the
Mm.
very least, I will always like science. So it's always something I can go back to at some capacity. But it would be really nice, and I would really love to make this whole modeling creative journey a full-time, self-providing profession.
Right. So, what about your family? Like how they are reacting to your decisions while you're studying your bachelor's degree and like to do the modeling and this career, which is completely contrast.
Yeah.
So, how they are reacting to you right now?
Well, the interesting thing is, as a Romanian, funnily enough, Australia is very far from Romania and it's very expensive to go back. So what that means is there's not a lot of Romanians here. Most of
Mm-hmm.
my family is either in Romania, maybe a few in some European countries, but no one is here in Romania except for my parents. So my
Okay.
mother knows. My father, however, I haven't really told him yet just how it happened. I never got around to it. So it's a little bit under wraps. I would prefer to make it a bit more of a public notice, let's say, when something significant happens, like maybe an international job or maybe like a casting for a series or something like that, something a bit more
Okay.
stay put. But yeah.
What about if this I publish on the YouTube channel and somehow your dad sees?
I mean, look, there's no issue, right? It's not like
Yes,
it,
yes.
it has to
Okay.
be a secret. There's no issue, okay?
Right, right. Yeah.
It's just I've always, I suppose, as a creative, you can probably relate, but when you have an unfinished project, you're
Mm.
very hesitant to show other people, whether it's a song you're making, it's a
Correct.
composition, it's a painting, whatever. So I'm very much like that. If it's not a polished, refined work, I don't usually like to show people because I want to show the
Correct.
final best work.
That's
So
very good.
similarly, I would, explaining in an analogous way, I would say I would want to make it very public, very noticeable, official social media handles, everything. When I have everything polished, I have a nice portfolio website. I've booked a lot of jobs with the agencies I'm at. Maybe I have a personal agent. I have a team. It's more official and self-sufficient than it is at the moment. That's probably when I would be a bit more public and official with it.
So, is your cultural background affecting your modeling career or any acting gigs you are getting? So, because you are culturally diverse background, is that affecting you in a positive way or negative way? Either is there any influence of that on your?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, and it's something I've actually been thinking about recently. Um, Now, first off, only having a few months, let's say half a year experience in the industry, I am still learning the trends, the model preferences, how it all ties in together. So it's still a big learning curve for me at the moment. From what
Mm-hmm.
I have seen and talked to with various professionals, um, I think that my background both has given me an advantageous position in the industry, but also maybe disadvantageous. Advantageous because, and this has nothing to do with race, but with models, the most sought after complexion is usually someone with a Caucasian background. So for example, if you have e-commerce work, if you have maybe, just casual retail stores work,
Yeah.
they would prefer Caucasian models. It's just what they prefer for their modeling purposes.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have something more prestigious, something where you have to be a bit more bold, a bit more unique, funnily enough, you tend to see a lot more top models being of different backgrounds, particularly with darker skin, because they really stand out. They give you a captivating look. So even
Mm-hmm.
within the industry, there are modeling preferences depending on the sub type you're going for: e-commerce, fast fashion, runway, catalog, fitness. So I think for the general job, I think my genetic background, I guess, maybe does have an influence. At the same time, I'm not aware of a lot of top Romanian models. Maybe I need to do more research, fine. But I'm not
Mm-hmm.
aware of a lot of Romanian models, at the top playing field. It's maybe it's American or maybe it's Swiss or, something like that. But I haven't heard of a lot of Romanian models like that. So I think that uniqueness, if I can find a way to leverage that into an advantage, would be very good because it'd be very unique.
Yeah.
But as it stands, a lot of creative directives, maybe they have 50 applicants, 100 applicants, and they don't need the most unique, captivating long-term person. They just need someone to fit the bill, easy, come in, get paid, do the job. So I think it can be a disadvantage in that sense as well.
So you mostly doing the fitness modeling where you need to maintain your fitness levels and you need to take care of your nutrition and health care.
Yeah.
How is that affecting your financials? Or you feel drained, or how you are managing your financial situations with that?
Yeah, sure. Well, first off, without any modeling considered, we're all aware of what the uni lifestyle usually is. So that's always a bit more of a, struggle sometimes until you get the
Mm-hmm.
degree. So there's that. But otherwise, with fitness, the surprising thing, because I do know a fair bit about fitness, having been a professional footballer as well, and being interested in strength training, nutrition, that sort of thing, you can have a good diet, you can have a good fit body and have good exercise routines on a budget. You can. However, if you really want to take it to the next level, yes, it does require some investment, particularly financially. So, for example, what I'm taking now, because I'm doing some powerlifting, and you need to really look after your energy and your nutrition and your strength, is I have a lot of supplements that I bought. Now, I'm happy to buy those. I want to buy them, but they add up. They're expensive. When you have all sorts of supplements, you have creatine monohydrate, you have BCAAs, EAAs, you have different protein powders, you have maybe pre-workouts, all sorts of things. Each one maybe $30, $50, $60, depending how good you get the brand. It adds up. And when you're working a retail or hospitality job, which is usually the case for students until they get a degree, or sometimes they get lucky and can get like an internship or, an entry-level position, it can be challenging. So it is something that I think of on a daily or at least a weekly basis, the finances. Okay, my salary is coming in this time. I need to allocate this for, let's say, a haircut, or maybe this for a waxing session or a styling session. I need to buy this particular outfit for this modeling. So there's the modeling costs. They can be reimbursed if you have an AB and a sole trader, which I do, but it's still a hassle. It's still a thing you have to learn how to do by yourself. Then you have the fitness side of things. Then you have the general side of things. If you want to go out with friends, if you want to go out with someone special, the social aspect, all of these, they can become very expensive very quickly. So for me, at least, especially at the beginning phase of this modeling journey, until I get a contract, until I get an ambassadorship or something like that, it does feel a bit like a juggling act, and it can be very exhausting. It's rewarding, but it can be very exhausting. And there are times, kind of every few weeks spaced out, where for 1 or 2 days, I just need a break. I need a break to not focus on anything and just do whatever it is that I want or need to do. It happens. It's a very high risk, high demand, but also high reward industry. It's just what comes with it.
Correct. So you have any responsibilities to fulfill with finances, or at this stage you have to take care of yourself? So is your parents expecting something, or your family in a different country, are they expecting something from you, or you're just completely independent? Is that why it's making easy for you right now?
Yeah, sure, fair enough. And I suppose for different cultures, it would depend. If I was in Romania, maybe the answer would be different. But since all my family is so far away and it's just my parents here, I have to be quite independent, and I'm used to it. And it's something I do enjoy, actually. But it is something I'm quite independent with. I'm living in my own property, fine with a housemate, but still in my own property. I take care of the rent, the utilities, internet, everything. It's whatever a regular adult would do as well. But whereas most would maybe have a few extra hours a day of downtime to maybe play games or maybe to go out for drinks or whatever, I would be applying to modeling jobs. I would be saving modeling poses to practice. I would be maybe reading up on some skincare, to make sure that I'm blemish free. It's an extra effort that I'm doing to try and get this path going.
Very good, very good. Actually, that's very interesting to hear. Being independent, how important it is to keep yourself free. So because you're studying now, and you're working towards your creative passion, have you ever felt give up? Okay, let's give up education and focus full-time modeling, or full-time into the things what you like to do, or let's give up modeling career and focus full-time onto the education. So is there any conflict in?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. That's something I definitely have been thinking of. The way I see it, and the way I think, in my 2 cents, most people should live life is without regrets. That can be taken in a lot of ways, in a lot of contexts, for a lot of things. But in this particular context, for me, what it means is, does it make sense to give up education or a stable part-time job now for modeling? No. Why not? Because I don't have something consistent. I have had a few jobs, but there's no traction. I don't have a very big following. I don't have offers coming in left, right, center. Yes, I'm with 2 agencies, but they're relatively new. I'm still putting my name out there. It doesn't make sense to do this now. But later on, if let's say maybe I have some international opportunities. Maybe I get to be on a billboard, maybe on a magazine, you know, whatever it is.
Mm.
If things are getting traction and I'm getting a significant amount of money where I can, at least for a few weeks, a month, something like that, be able to provide for the basics, then I might be able to think about, okay, well, what has a bigger benefit right now? Continuing the degree, pausing it, leaving it entirely? It's a difficult choice, and there is a big opportunity cost for both. But
Mm.
for me, I've decided that if that time comes where I'm really getting there and I can really do much, much more by focusing entirely on the modeling, I will be happy to take that decision and sacrifice the rest. Even if I have to start all over again, fine, if it's worth it. Right now, I'm just not in that position. But if it comes to it, I will be able to make that decision, because ultimately you can't go and do great things without any great risks. You know, no one became rich, no one became famous, no one did something great, really inspiring or life-changing for themselves by doing what everyone else did, by staying at home, by not going out and networking, going out of the comfort zone, or taking a risk, maybe losing it.
Yeah.
So that is something that I think I will have to do, and hopefully I will get to have that choice in the future. But for right now, it's a little bit too far in the future, I would say, to be taking that decision.
That's really very inspiring quotation. No one will become famous without taking risks. Actually, that's very good. At your age, you realize that and continuing doing that. So let's talk about your support system. So, what kind of support is very important in your journey so far?
There are a few support systems. I will be quite honest, because of the fact that all of my family is virtually in Romania, I don't
Mhm.
feel that family, unlike I think the majority of people, has had a very big role as a support system. Um, I'm not saying it hasn't had a role, but I think much less than what one might expect, which I think,
Mm.
just for obvious reasons, it's just how it is. You know, when you are a first or second generation migrant to a new country, you know, it's just how it is. But otherwise, the other systems that, let's say, have had a bigger impact, I would say definitely friends. You know, there are a few close friends in London, here as well, that even if, let's say, I'm not talking about what's stressing me or what I'm planning to do, simply, you know, being around them, being involved in a network, in a social circle, it helps. You know, humans are gregarious by nature. They need company. But having
Mm.
said that, myself, because of the way that I grew up, having traveled so often, having done professional sports since the age of 7, 8, up until
Mm.
20 or 19, your mentality is built in a certain way. And especially with me being so extroverted, and I'll be quite honest, I don't know if people believe in astrology, but Capricorns and Romanians as well, they tend to be very stubborn. So when they want something, they go for it, and it is very hard to change their mind. So all of these things together, I think they have made me a very determined and very focused person. So if I
Well,
decide that I want to do something, even if maybe I don't have the best or most ample support system in place, or help or opportunities, I will do as much as I can to get it done. So I actually don't feel like I have a very big support system around.
mm.
Or if I do, I don't put as much emphasis on it as being independent and figuring out the solution myself. That's something I've always had to do. And I think
Mm.
it's a great skill to have. And it's just however I tackle a problem is in this way. I have this
Mm.
problem. How can I resolve it all by myself? You know, it's not
Yeah.
necessarily how all problems should be tackled, I will admit, but it is something that I think is very, very useful to have in such a high stress, such a low chance of success, and such a difficult industry to break through in, you know?
Mm. Mm. So, what are your long-term goals in your creative journey? What exactly you want to achieve?
Yeah, that's interesting. And it's again something I've thought about. It's probably going to be massaged a little bit as time goes on. I learn more about the industry, I get contacts. But right now, what I can say is my two milestones that I put for myself. Right now, I'm mainly on Instagram, and I am trying my hand at, a bit of influencing, a bit of, content creation posts, and it's going okay. But, I'm aware of a few big things I need to improve on, let's say for next year. So right now I have about just shy of 400 followers, nothing crazy at all. My milestone is to get to 1,000 followers. That's a very short term, very little milestone. And then after that, we'll see. My other milestone is in whatever brand, whatever production, could be about any product whatsoever, but appear on a TV commercial or appear in a public place, a bit more than just a website. So maybe it could be a YouTube ad. Maybe it could be a television commercial. It could be a poster on the bus stop, whatever it is, but have my first appearance like that in a very public place. Those are my nearest two big milestones that I have at the moment. Otherwise, for career progression, while I have tried my hand at a bit of acting, and there is actually a new short film to be seen that will be screening soon. I have a background role in that, so that's quite exciting. It's just a background role, but it's exciting. It's exciting. We hope to see or not see myself in that. Yeah, I probably won't focus too much on acting, maybe just a little bit. Mostly it'd be modeling and hopefully in commercial work and fitness work to start off with. It would also be nice to get more experience and maybe a bit of a recognition in fashion work and editorial work, maybe runway work too. I think more axed on editorial and fashion. I would quite enjoy that. One other thing I'd really like to do, but I need to do a lot more research, and it's not something I think I can start right now, is to have my own clothing line. I would really like that for two reasons. One, I think my style is a bit more unique. It's what most people would call the old money or old fashioned style. I quite enjoy that. But there aren't a lot of stores, at least in Australia, that do that. So I would really like to make a clothing line or a clothing store along the lines of, some brands in Davy Jones, MJ Bale, Mr. Big, those sort of brands. But with an old money touch, quality clothing, but very fashionable, very kind of retro, almost kind of like when you buy an outfit from here, it's like you're putting Vogue on yourself, know. That's kind of what I'm thinking of. That's what I would really like to do, but I think it's a little bit more of a pipe dream at the moment.
So, the first thing is congratulations on your short film extra. There is no role you consider as a small or big roles, but you have to start somewhere. I'm pretty sure you get very good acting gigs if you continue to do that, because acting industry also looks for multicultural and diverse people around. And also talking about your own clothing brands. Yes, once you become popular, as you mentioned, like Instagram influencer or YouTube influencer, you do whatever you want, man.
I would hope so.
Definitely.
Yes,
So everybody will
hope.
accept it. So I hope you will definitely get that things. So to achieve all these things, you have multiple ideas to short term and long term. That's very precise goal making. Instead of just going after certain things, and you have a option, plan A, plan B, plan C, like that. That's very good, because you achieve one thing, the remaining all fall on the line, basically. What kind of problems or challenges do you foresee to achieve these things in your life?
Well, I'll be quite honest. There are a lot of obstacles that I could say. I'm not sure if I'll be able to list them all, but let's say, for example, in this industry, rejection is something you definitely have to deal with, and the rate, even for someone that's starting to get popular, is 80%, maybe 90%. I had a look, for example, one platform that's very useful, and anyone encouraging to start out, I would recommend is Star Now. They do have a small subscription fee of $20, but if you get a job, you pay that off in the first job, and it's not a commission based either. So it's a very good platform. All of the jobs I've gotten through myself have been through that. But for example, I looked at the last month, how many jobs I applied for. well over 100. How many
Wow.
jobs
Yeah.
that actually work? Maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's fine because they need a very specific look, a very specific atmosphere and energy that you can bring on set, which they see in their
Mm-hmm.
profile. So you have to be able to deal with rejection a lot. And this is true to all aspects of life, but especially in this industry. So rejection, try not to let it get to you, taking it with a grain of salt and just trying to improve and move on. Get feedback if you can for the jobs you got and maybe the ones you haven't, and just keep going. You just have to
Mm-hmm.
keep going
Yeah.
and not look back. That's
Yeah.
one very big challenge. Other
Mm.
big challenges could be, well, for example, money-wise.
Mm.
Hypothetically, let's say you have a portfolio, and in this,
Yeah.
it's actually hypothetically, it is something I'm thinking as well. I have a portfolio. My jobs know me as having a beard. But what if, let's say, an editorial magazine comes and says, hey, you have an interesting background. We want to give you a trial chance at a runway, but clean shaven.
Mm.
What if, let's say, I have 2 jobs on the same weekend that pay well, but this other one,
Mm.
which could be a great stepping stone, doesn't pay because I'm new, but they want me to shave my beard.
Mm.
It seems so silly. Like such a silly, like just shave it or don't shave it. But it impacts you a lot because if you decide to
Right.
shave it, you then need new photos. You need new
Mm.
shoots. Maybe you paid for some of them. It can get expensive. Or your
Yeah.
jobs. You've taken productions from jobs that show you in a certain look. Now you have another one. You can't really
Mm.
use them. So, and you have to wait for your beard to grow back. If let's say you want that, that's maybe a week, 2 weeks, a month. So
Mm.
there are so many little things that you have to constantly be aware of,
Mm.
try and gel everything together. It really is a challenging time for people that are starting out in this industry. But I think that if you can continue the effort, if you
Mm.
can keep making things work, as difficult and tiring and exhausting as it might be, things will turn out for the best. No problem stands in the way of a correct and effort approach.
Yeah, very, very good actually. So, I think I'm also hearing your reflections on the career. So, what insights have you gained so far,
Mhm.
and what kind of advices would you like to give immigrant background students? You're lucky enough that
Mhm.
you raised in this country
Yeah.
for certain long time. But what kind of advices would you like to give new students traveling or immigrants coming here? To achieve their creative passion and make into the professional life.
Yeah, well, look, the thing you probably notice about me is I love to talk and I have a lot of things to
Yes,
say. We should have a podcast. That would be something
yes,
interesting.
actually, yeah, we'll do
Yeah,
that.
actually, I would like to have a podcast. That would be
Yeah,
quite nice. So yeah,
yeah, we'll do
we'll
that
see.
actually. Yes.
Yeah. But otherwise, for the purposes of this interview, let's say I think a lot of the things I said will still be applicable
Uh,
to, let's say, international students or those that do not have a citizenship or a passport like me. Um, with the exception that probably the stress, the self-doubt, and the, let's say, safety net or assurance won't
mm,
be there. So what maybe might feel like a 40% risk for me, because I can say, okay, well, modeling maybe doesn't work out, but I can continue my university. I am lucky to be paying domestic rates instead of international rates.
mm.
If I paid for 3 classes and it was 40,000, that would definitely be a much bigger opportunity cost than 14,000 if I decide to,
Yeah.
let's say, leave university that semester, do modeling. So
Mm,
the risk, I think, would be much higher for new students or new creatives that are coming to Australia.
true.
My message still stands that you can't have a high reward without a high risk unless you're
Mm,
gambling. But it's not really in my place to
yeah.
either judge or to assume what that lifestyle is if I'm not privy to it. All I can say is that the two things I've learned through life, and I have been through a lot of tribulations, whether they were
Mm,
physical or emotional or academic or whatever it could be. The two things are that everything happens for a reason, and everything does work out for the best in the end.
yeah.
So that's why, at least for me myself, I am able to start this journey and continue it, knowing statistically, I probably won't become a big face or a big name, statistically. But I try anyway, and I dedicate as much effort and time and knowledge as I can, because I know that everything happens for the best. So either I make it and it's for the best, or I don't and it is for the best.
True.
And everything will be okay.
It's good. It's good. Yeah.
But you can't just leave it up to chance. You do need to work for a few things. So I'm also comfortable because I know I have university. Or if I'm not, that maybe I can work up a part-time job or a full-time job for a year or two and figure things out. I'm comfortable that I'll be able to sustain myself. So it can't just be daydreaming. But I'm very acutely aware of those two principles, and I guess if there's only one thing to take away from everything I've said, which has been a lot, I admit, it's those two things: that everything happens for a reason, and everything will be okay. Everything does get better. Everything will be okay in the end.
Hey, Tudor, actually, you did not speak a lot. First thing is you spoke everything is true and correct, and really impressive. The clear ideology you have in your life and career. I'm sure that you will make big one day.
I hope so.
I'll see your billboards
That would be
definitely
something. That's the goal.
around the Sydney and wishful thinking these to around the globe. Thank you very much for being part of this, and appreciate your time. Would you like to share your social media handles, Instagram,
Sure.
YouTube,
Yeah. If
and
anyone is
whatever?
interested,
I'll
I
try
do.
to. I'll tag you, and I may
Oh,
not
sure.
make sure to make 1,000 subscribers soon,
Oh,
but I will
yes, yes.
share
No, that would be
that.
wonderful. That is much appreciated, Pradeep. Thank you. Well, I mainly just use Instagram at the moment. So that's at Fuca Tudor, the first part of my last name and first, Fucatudor.
Actually, can you please drop in the messages?
Oh,
Is it
right, right. Yes, yes, yes,
uh,
yes, yes.
Thank
Yes,
you, Tudor, for the time.
yes,
I would like to stop
likewise.
recording this interview, and
Sure.
then we can continue talking.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
wonderful.
we